Welcome to the Bounty Zero X podcast. I'm your host, Angelo Adam, founder and CEO of Bounty Zero X. Bounty Zero X is a decentralized bounty hunting network powered by the BNTY token. All right, today is January 19th, 2019, and my guest on the show is Philip Longhurst, CEO of WolfpackBot, and Roger Pointle, Chief Financial Officer of WolfpackBot. Philip is an account manager for JP Morgan and NBNA Bank. Phil managed the accounts of several high-profile clients and businesses and has been successfully trading stocks for 25 years and has successfully applied his trading experience and mathematical acumen to the cryptocurrency market space since 2013. Roger is a successful entrepreneur with nearly 25 years of experience in business management, marketing, financial administration, economics, and fintech. He holds a bachelor's degree in business communication and financial administration. WolfpackBot is a highly advanced cryptocurrency trading software that allows for execution of trades at lightning speed using proprietary trading algorithms, werewolf trading analysis configurations, or customized settings based on personal trading style. WolfpackBot allows for simultaneous trading access to all compatible cryptocurrency exchanges that are available to the bot and all trading pairs with WerewolfBot subscription package. So, Philip and Roger, thank you and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you.
So, tell me a little bit about your guys' interest in trading and how you got into the trading market and then the cryptocurrency trading market.
All right, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Well, my trading, when I first started learning trading was in college. My economics professor, who was actually also my guidance counselor, right? He taught me how to trade. This is going back to the mid-'90s, right, before we even had the internet. So he taught me how to trade with the Wall Street Journal and basically just looking at sentiment. And then I kind of went from there. He actually suggested I be a stockbroker because I got really good at it, but at that point in time, I was young and wild. I didn't really listen to him. So I continued to, learning to trade on my own. I actually found trading stocks a little too slow for me. And then I ended up stumbling upon Forex. And I was like, okay, this is more my style, nice and rapid. So I started doing that, got into like Forex bots. And then buddies of mine kind of started talking to me about cryptocurrency, this, Bitcoin and everything like this. And I was just as confused about Bitcoin as everybody is when they first get into it. But this was several years ago. And then I started getting into trading in cryptocurrencies. I literally found that it was Forex at a super fast speed. And I loved the volatility of it. So that way I could use my own mathematical scalping formulas. And I found that it worked so far better for me for getting returns.
So did you ever trade equities, or were you just specifically Forex before cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I was Forex. Before cryptocurrency, it was strictly Forex, but then I was also trading, all like blue chip stocks and things like that before that. And
so were you using brokerage, or what was your time frame on the Forex and the equities?
Oh, like when I was doing the Forex, I did that for a couple of years, and I ended up using trading bots. Because I was using a broker, but the broker fees were extremely high. So one of the Forex strategies for the 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio, it was too hard with the broker fees. So then I ended up going to the bots and started making more profits that way. But, it just wasn't really cutting it for me. And that's where cryptocurrency came in with this volatility, and the spread was a lot easier to make returns.
When you first started trading on cryptocurrency markets, were you trading on one exchange? And so which exchange was that?
I was actually trading on, I was using Binance, and I was also using Bittrex when I first started. And then I found that I was just constantly monitoring it and looking at the trade fees and the spread versus the coin's movement. I like to trade on coins with a specific volatility and a specific change. I don't really care when I'm scalping on, I guess, the legitimacy of the coin, so to speak, like the top 20 market cap or things like that. I just wanted specific volatility, specific change, so I could scalp and get returns and get it back to my base currency.
Do you do only bots, or do you also do discretionary trading?
I prefer bots because when I would day trade and do discrepancy trading, it would take too much time away from my wife and daughter. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to create my own bot, was because the other bots they weren't like up to par for me. They just didn't cut it. They couldn't trade the way I like to trade. So that's why we created our own, just so I could literally spend time with my wife, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into all of the details of the Wolfpack bot and the platform, but I first want to just talk a little bit about like your background, because I'm sure you have a lot of insight and an interesting story about your experience with trading as a whole and the marketplace and the cryptocurrency marketplace. So the prior bots, tell me what some of the weaknesses were of the prior bots that you had been using, and did you build your own bots, and where did you get them, and what type of did you develop them on your own? And tell me a little bit about some of the important features that some of the other bots have that you use. Okay, sure.
Well, I actually used all the bots out there when I first jumped into the market. I was using Haasbot. I was using 3 Commas. I even jumped into CWE, which was Crypto World Evolution, their bots. And then I ended up stumbling upon CryptoHopper. And out of all the bots that I used at that time, CryptoHopper was the better one. But all of their issues came down to speed. They just weren't fast at all. And they'd have so much lag. And then there were a lot of coding bugs in there. And their customer support was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It may as well not have even existed. They didn't know they didn't even know what their product was about. And that became my problem. But at least at that time, CryptoHopper helped me solve a problem at that time, giving me, freeing up my time to spend time with my family. But I would always constantly have to check it and make tweaks to counteract their lack of speed. So then,
what was the speed on the bot?
On their bots, it was it was ridiculous. Like if I wanted to place, well, obviously you couldn't place market orders on there because of their speed. It would hit the spread and you would lose every time. So they did away with market orders. So you could only place limit orders, but because of the way it would work, their bots would trigger it. They're all cloud based. So their bot would trigger the sell, but it would take anywhere. I mean, it was random. It could take anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute before it actually placed the order on the books, and you would miss it.
So there's a lot of slippage.
Correct. Right. So even if you had a trailing stop loss trigger at 0.9%, the limit order, by the time it went through, you'd only make like 0.2, sometimes even less than that, because of the slippage. It was ridiculous.
But the markets move that fast that it makes that you need to have that extra speed.
Correct. Yeah, you have to have speed. And that is why we created our bot mainly focused on speed, but plus the strategies, the configurations and the algorithms I noticed on the bots, they really weren't using math. So all of our bot and our configurations are strictly mathematical based. That way we play both the positive integer line and the negative integer line. And then you coupled with the speed and scalping strategies, it's what makes our bot insanely fast.
What was the payment model for some of the other bots that you were using?
They had 3 bots. They had an entry level one called the Bunny. Then they had a Hare. Then they had a Kangaroo. Now they've changed the names, and the Kangaroo, their best, is now called their Pro version. It is $99 a month. And you only get access to one exchange at a time and only one base currency that you could trade. So if you wanted to just choose BTC pairs, that's all you could trade on. And you were limited to 7, and you're limited to only trading 75 coins. Is massively limited.
With the bots, do they enter the orders automatically, or do you have to manually enter the orders once they have like a flag trigger?
Right, they would automatically do it based on your settings. So if you set a take profit or a trailing stop loss or even a stop loss, those would trigger the sell orders, and they would do it automatically. But they would place limit orders, and then your buying was all based upon the the TA indicators that you configured. Right. And you had to configure all of it yourself. So you had to know how to trade because the bot only worked on your settings.
So do any of these bots, or did any of them support any back testing or any type of historical analysis for the strategies?
Yes, they did. They had back testing. Well, at least CryptoHopper had back testing features, but it was very inaccurate.
Why was it inaccurate?
Oh, just because it was like when you base it on, like, say you chose a specific date based on your indicators, it never really gave you correct results. Like you could choose it, but then they would literally tell you, oh, look, you never would have got a buy. Well, that's incorrect. Mm-hmm. But with any back testing, it's not really reliable information. You can only see what it did in the past. It doesn't predict the future. If it did really, really well in the past, doesn't mean it's going to do great tomorrow. It all depends on the market conditions and what your settings are. You know, where are you buying? You know, where are you placing buys? Are you buying an oversold? Are you buying it neutral? This dictates everything.
You guys are in the process of developing as of around February, so around a year ago, you started developing a better product because from what it seems like is that you identified a market, an opportunity for a better product to be developed. So tell me about Roger, why don't you tell me a little bit about how that process started and the process that you've been working on since. So what triggered you to start working on this bot, and tell me a little bit about what's been happening since you guys started working on it.
Well, we were trading on CryptoHopper. We exchanged settings, and we quickly found out that there were a couple of things that we definitely wanted different to be better. And we started thinking like, hey, why don't we develop our own bot? So we started researching, got in contact with a couple of other people who are the proper coders, because we know a bit about it, but we're definitely not professionals. So we hired some professionals to start working on it. And we told them like, well, we would like to have this or this. They implemented it, and we tested it, saw if it worked. And for example, now we have this feature called live candle scanning, and that's a brilliant new technique. So we don't have to wait for the closing of the candle, and that makes it even faster, our bot. We tested it all. We've got a beta test group now. But it's taken almost a year already. And at this moment in time, we're almost up to a release version. I think it will take another, 1.5 months probably, and then we'll be ready. So, yeah, we have a pretty big beta testing group at the moment. And yeah, they're doing an amazing job. We're doing the data analysis on it to see if everything is working the way we expect it to. And of course, as in all beta tests, it's normal that you get some bugs in there, but that's why we're doing the beta test, of course, to get all that out before the release version will be rolled out. And yeah, as I said, we're almost at that point. We still have a bit of graphical user interface to enhance, but the functionality is, I'd say, 99% there. So the graphical user interface, we're looking for, the eye candy, as we call it. It has to look stunning, because when people are looking at their overview, they would like to see pie charts and all that instead of just the plain numbers. And we have a little bit of graphs in there, but it's not the way we want it yet. It's good. You can read all your information from there, but definitely when we'll have the pie charts and all that, that will bring the eye candy in there, and then people will be stunned by it, by looking at how things are going and just seeing it instead of, let's call it reading it. And that's where we're at right now.
So you guys have the Wolfpack bot that you're currently developing, and then you also have a number of other ecosystem products that you guys are developing. So along with and we'll get more into, there's a lot to cover with the Wolfpack bot So I want to also get into some of the features and the details and the subscriptions, but maybe we could also touch on some of the other components of the ecosystem. So, for example, the blockchain, so the Wolfcoin blockchain, which is secured through proof of work, and then you have a masternode system on top of that. So, Roger, can you give me a quick overview of where the blockchain component, I guess that's also tied into the Wolfcoin, and so how that fits in with the bot?
Yeah, sure. Well, the idea was we want to make sure people can see trades in the past for specific settings, because in our bot we want to also implement a marketplace for settings, so people can say, yeah, we got this much percentage gain or profit, but how do you check on that? So what we're doing now, past trades will be logged into the blockchain, and when people are using that, they can actually check if the settings actually made that profit that is that people have been saying, like, yeah, it's doing this much profit. And another thing is we want to do the candle history for exchanges, so we can hold exchanges accountable for price manipulation. That's another functionality of our blockchain.
So the blockchain is 2 layers, where there's the masternode layer, which helps secures the Wolfcoin network, allowing instant send and private send transactions. And then there's the proof of work component. So are these separate, or are these the same thing?
We have the mining and we have the masternodes, and the rewards are given every 60 seconds. At the moment, we're at 160 coins each minute as a reward, and that's split up 20% for the miners and 80% for the masternodes. The
reasoning for having, I guess, you need to have the miners, right, in a proof of work system. Sure. And then you have masternodes, which stake the tokens, and then the staking of the tokens gives the people who stake them a reward. So you need to hold at least 10,000 Wolf coins in your wallet from a static IP, and then you become a masternode, and then you have a chance to receive 80% of the block reward every 60 seconds, which you can then use those tokens for the Wolfpack bot subscription, the console, and the other merchandise, and or trading on exchanges. Tell me a little bit about the console and that component, because that's kind of an interesting product that you guys are working on.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful, man. We're developing a hardware console, and look at it this way. You could go for your computer, have it on 24/7, or you could just buy the console and you hook it up to your TV with an HDMI cable, and you can look on your TV like, how's my trading going? And it's sort of a Apple TV design. We've got the Wolf logo on there, and every time it makes a trade, it lights up. Of course, you can switch that off, because I think after a couple of days, the novelty will be off, and it might even annoy some people. But it will be definitely a piece of eye candy for people. And of course, it's easy to work it, because you just flip on your TV, you switch to your HDMI channel, and you look like, okay, how am I doing? Instead of going on your computer or having it on a VPS. Definitely our second choice would be the VPS, because that's definitely on 24/7. Your computer, you want to do different things on your computer as well, like surf the web. And personally, I think you should have a dedicated machine for the trading. So, and that's the Wolf box, as we call it.
So you're monetizing this through the subscription model. So Philip, can you tell me about the subscription model and the pre-orders that you've received for the bot so far?
Yes. So basically, you talk about our pricing model, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So our pricing model we've got, like I said, we've got the 3 different versions of the bot, right? So we call them Pup Bot, Wolf Bot, and a Werewolf Bot. Right? The pricings are $40 for the basic one, $65. This is a monthly. It'd be $65 for the Wolf Bot, $100 for the Werewolf Bot, all payable in Wolfcoin. So let me tell you the differences. So the base bot, which is called the Pup Bot, you can trade on one exchange and only use one base currency, just like all the other bots out there, right? The way they trade. Our Wolf Bot, which costs you $65 a month in Wolfcoin, is one exchange, but all base currency. So you can trade BTC, Bitcoin pairs, Ethereum pairs, whatever the exchange allows. So right now on Binance, you can do Bitcoin pairs, Ethereum pairs, BNB pairs, USDT, USDC, PAX, and XRP. So you can trade all of those simultaneously. And then the cream of the crop one is the Werewolf Bot, which is $100 a month in Wolfcoin. You can do all the base pairs, all the base currencies, and it's all coins on all of the exchanges that our bot is configured to work on. So you can trade multiple exchanges at the same time.
And how many exchanges is it configured to work on?
Well, right now we have it coded on Binance, and then once we fix a couple of little things with our charts, get rid of a couple of other issues, then we will code the API to run on the next exchange, and we're deciding which one we want to work with.
And can you have different strategies for different exchanges?
You can have different strategies for different exchanges, and you can use different strategies for different base pairs.
And can you have an active long strategy and an active short strategy?
We don't do the margin, right? We don't do leverage or margin, only if the exchange does it. But we have basically all your position, you're buying them, you're going long. If you can, we also have shorting features where you can short the long open position. It's a different type of shorting. So you can turn it on one exchange, one base pair, or you can use it for all. It's mix and match, whatever you decide you want to do.
So how many total exchanges do you think you'll be adding support for eventually?
Eventually, like to get them all. But it's a lofty goal, right? Realistically, probably by the end of this year, we should have 5 to 6 exchanges coded. Because it comes down to the API wrapper, what you can get from each exchange. Binance is very, very friendly with what you can get. Other exchanges aren't. So then you have to code, you have to create your own candles, it's a lot of coding.
Some of the technical challenges with adding support for a new exchange, and it seems like it's more than just connecting up the API.
Exactly. Yeah, but we have we do have. Yes, they're our team, they're our friends, but I honestly do believe that our coding team is probably some of the best coders I've ever seen in my life.
So how did you go about getting in touch and onboarding and putting together this group of developers that you currently have? And tell me a little bit about your development team and resources that you have allocated to the technical side.
Well, like I said, I had this idea in my head, and then I just created trading groups. This is a year and a half, 2 years ago now, something like that. And I created these trading groups just to find guys. I wanted to teach people how to trade because I was using all these bots, and I could see people just being really confused and people losing money. I was like, well, I'm working on my strategies. These work. Let me try and teach you guys, just to try to help out the community. Then I was like, well, I specifically want to find key guys who I could start a company with. And I found them all through our trading groups. And then we were like, okay, now we need a little bit more of a coding experience. How do we find somebody? So we just started putting our heads together and putting the word out there. And next thing you know, we started building our coding team. That's how we got them. We have a handful of coders all working together, who are they all specialize in C++. They all specialize in WinForms and Bootstrap. And this is what these guys do for a living, and they code everything.
And so, just going back to the subscriptions, how many have you pre-sold so far, and do you have numbers so far that you can share with us in terms of the number of subscriptions that you've already sold to people? Right.
So the way we've got it is, if you want to. Because of the whole everything was the problem with the SEC versus security versus utility, right? We wanted to be strictly utility and maintain our status within the SEC rules and regulations. So we just wanted to make sure we were that. So we had to make sure we passed the Howey test, create utility. So we wanted to run our crowd sale instead of like your typical ICO. We wanted to do a crowd sale. We have a product, and we wanted to pre-order. You pre-order your subscription,
like a Kickstarter.
Exactly, exactly. So you pre-order it. So you're going to pay us in cryptocurrency. You are actually going to get the bot subscription, plus you're also going to get our coin instead of just buying our coin and waiting for it to get on the exchange, just like every other ICO. You get our product, pre-order our product, we give you the coin. That's the way we wanted to do it. So right now, our pre-sale is our crowd sales in stage 1, and there's 80 million coins available for sale. And then every day people are purchasing subscriptions, and they're trying to get master nodes. So it's going really well, but the exact number I haven't looked at the charts today.
Yeah, and after the crowd sale, people will be able to mix and match their contribution for the subscription they want. So, for example, if someone contributed like $500, then they'd have the ability to get the top tier subscription package. So, like that's the Werewolf bot for 5 months, since that's $100 in Wolf a month. So, but also they could choose, for example, the Pup bot, which is $40 a month, and then what would it be? A bit over a year in subscription. So they can choose that themselves after the crowd sale.
How are you going to be managing your subscriptions? So, since the subscriptions are paid in the Wolf coin, you need to have an active subscription in order to use the software. What is going to be your, UI interface, and how will people, after the crowd sale is over and they just want to purchase the bot or use the bot or subscribe, will it be a system where they download the bot, and then once they install it, they have a prompt that opens up when they open up the application saying, in order to use this, you need to subscribe, click here to subscribe, and then they get like a reference code or something. Can you explain how that is going to be structured?
Yeah, sure. You want me to do that, Phil?
Yeah, sure, man. Go ahead.
All right. So on our website, www.wolfpackbot.com, people will be able to register. After the crowd sale, they'll be able to pay for a certain subscription. Then they'll download the software, and the software actually will check on the website whether or not the subscription is valid. And if it's valid, then it just starts. And if it's not, you'll get a message like, hey, do you want to prolong your subscription, for example, when it's finished? Also, we'll have a message, for example, 7 days ahead of the ending of the subscription, like, hey, your subscription is ending in 7 days, and we'll have a bigger one, which probably will be a flashing one, a day ahead, so people will not have their bot stopped on them and leaving them without trading while you actually want to trade, because that's definitely something you don't want. You want to be able to continue. And then they just go to the website and prolong their subscription. That's the way it works. So it's the software itself is hooked up to the website for the subscriptions.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because we also have a subscription model on our platform. Using subscriptions with cryptocurrencies is a little bit more difficult than people anticipate, and in a way, because unlike when a person is paying a subscription service with a credit card, where their credit card is debited each month for a transaction automatically without having the user to need to manually do that. With cryptocurrency at the current time, there's no way to automate transactions, for example, for monthly subscriptions. It requires that the user manually renews the subscription and sends payment each month. So it's a little bit more difficult than because there are a lot of software as a service companies that offer monthly subscriptions for applications online. And the person purchasing the application enters in their credit card information, and then they're debited each month for that. But it's a little bit different when doing it with cryptocurrency, and we've encountered that on our platform. So I was just curious what your approach to that problem. So,
our approach is actually we want to have people see on their bot that their subscription is ending at a certain date. And like I just said, we're going to do a flashing one with a countdown on it on the main page. And maybe even on every page. So it's just a top bar which has the countdown probably in red, maybe flashing for the last 24 hours. So people will know, I need to prolong my subscription. That's our way to make sure people will not go without a subscription, thus stopping their bots. So that's how we're going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they can also, like I said, of just paying for 1 month, they can pay for 6 months, a year in advance if they want to, and the system will just deduct the wolf from their balance. And if they decide to cancel the bot, then that wolf will get refunded back to their wolf wallet, and they can exchange it on the exchange.
And how are you going to make it easy for people to purchase the wolf tokens? So will they have to go to an exchange to purchase it, or because, for example, we have AirSwap integration widget on our platform, so a user just clicks that buy widget, and then from within the application they can purchase the BNTY tokens.
Right, and we're going to have that as well.
So what is your marketing plan, and how are you going to grow the subscription base after the ICO once the product is released?
Okay, well, basically, our bot will speak for itself. But we've got a lot of interest with YouTube personalities who are going to be testing our bot, and they'll share their results. Then obviously PR, doing the basic PR and marketing throughout all the sites with CNN and Cointelegraph, things like that. We have our whole marketing team that's handling that for us.
So I want to change topics and talk about the blockchain ecosystem over the next few years. What are your guys' thoughts on the direction of the cryptocurrency space and where you see it's headed, and how do you think it'll be changing over the next few years?
Good question. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. I mean, right now, obviously Bitcoin, being the granddaddy of it all, is definitely a store of value. I do certainly see it being digital gold. I do not personally Bitcoin. I don't really see it staying the number one, but it's what started it all. Now, cryptocurrency, like with the prices right now, obviously 2017 was the bull year. We had major price manipulation that pushed it up to 20,000. And then, it came down in 2018. The whole year was a bear. Now, right now we're trading sideways, but it still has still trying to find bottom. I feel that $3,000 is the bottom. But, right, obviously we've got the institutional players coming in, especially with backed futures, Fidelity. I think right now with the Bitcoin, what's the price right now? What is it, like 3,700? 3,700. I think it's going to go down. I think it might even touch 2,700, possibly, 3,000, 2,700. And then I think the institutions are going to be buying up. And then once backed futures is out and they're official, obviously we have the government shutdown. Things got delayed, but they still have to make a decision by law especially on the ETFs to decide what they're going to do. But BAC's going to come out after BAC shows that it's profitable for their investors. We're going to start to see a bull run. I certainly see Bitcoin hitting $15,000 to $20,000 by the end of this year, with the institutional players coming in, and then possibly 50,000 by the end of 2020. That's just my personal opinion. But cryptocurrency is here to stay. Will it replace fiat currency is the other big question. I do feel that eventually, just because of the distrust in a centralized banking system. You got to remember, look at the U.S. dollar, right? In 1973 was the complete changeover from gold to fiat currency. I do believe that cryptocurrency is going to have the same effect on fiat. But will it happen in my lifetime? That I don't think so. But I do think it'll happen in my daughter's lifetime. We'll see that changeover.
And Roger, what are your thoughts on the 2018 being the year of, or 2017 being the year of the ICOs? What are your thoughts on the future of having lots of tokens being developed? And it seems like there's been a slowdown in the number of companies generating their own token. So what are your thoughts on the future of these utility tokens and companies having their own utility token, which is used on the platform, and what we expect to see in terms of the numbers of projects that are issuing their own token in the future?
Well, 2017, almost for everything, an ICO was created, and a lot of people got scammed. Unfortunately, that brought a bad stigma on the whole ICO market. I think 90% of all the startups, let's call it startups, right, were scams, unfortunately. So I think that brought a lot of distrust, and basically a lot of them didn't even have a product. It was just, we're gonna do this, and a lot of people invested in it because of the price of Bitcoin being so high. People thought, oh well, let's get into this project, and yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of money in it. Mm-hmm. Now then, we do have a product, and I think that is the basis for a new startup. Not only saying we are going to do that, no, show people we actually have a product, and that's what we're doing now with the videos, with the screenshots, with the beta tester testing it out. That's what I think where we're headed now. Only companies which have a product will actually be able to raise funding for it. That's what I think. So it's a lot harder than 2017. Also, yeah, go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, also you got to remember in 2017, the majority of the ICOs, were just Ethereum smart contracts, and they had internal exchanges, they were all lending platforms, like BitConnect, Devor, LibraCoin, all of these guys. They were all Ponzi schemes. That was it, just artificial crap, right? Telling you, oh, look, you're making 1% a day, 2% a day in their coin, and you'd exchange it on their internal exchange, and then you could move it out. It was all a scam. Every single one of them. No product, and they didn't have their own blockchain. That's what was going on.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the move towards securities tokens and some exchanges that are being formed only trade securities types of tokens?
Not really right now. I know they're the STOs, is the big buzzword right now, but I think the exchanges are still going to be using, the utility coins. I do feel that a lot of the exchanges will be blacklisting smart contract coins. I see that happening because they don't have anything. They're just nothing. I mean, I don't know if I can use foul language here, but they're shit coins. And I think these exchanges are going to be dumping them.
Yeah, and especially the Ethereum tokens. So I think for blockchain and a proper blockchain with a use case, it will be less so. But for Ethereum tokens, I think it will. 2019 will be the last year.
Exactly, it's going to weed. It's going to weed them out. The amount of coins, amount of cryptocurrency coins will be reduced. All of those shit coins will just disappear.
What are your thoughts on, now that you've been working on this project for around a year, looking back on the progress that you made, what do you wish that you had known when you started working on the project, on the Wolfpack bot? So what were some assumptions that you made that were not accurate, or what are some things that would have, that you now know about the bot and the process that you learned throughout the process that you didn't know when you started it?
Well, I'll say our only focus was on the bot, just creating the best bot in the world. That's just been our focus completely. It didn't matter what the market conditions were. We just wanted to create a bot that could trade in all these conditions and to help people trade and, get returns so they can have a shot at financial freedom. We wanted to try and keep Satoshi's vision by giving power back to the people. But instead of just holding it as a store of value, help people trade to gain back their base currency for store of value, a way to increase instead of just holding. We wanted to create that other avenue. And that's been our focus. Now, the hurdles we expected hard work. We expected all of this. And so it really wasn't anything surprising to us, except for the amount of hours we've got to put in each and every day. Lack of sleep, we didn't expect it to be this much, but we just pushed through.
Yep, and maybe one thing would be the social media. We didn't think it would take that much time. So right now we've got community managers in place, and that's one thing I would do differently if we were to start at the beginning again. We would have better managing there, because we need our time to develop the bot, and because we need the time. But we also want to answer the people in a as soon as possible, And we're thinking, we're dividing ourselves up a bit. So what we've done lately is, we have to focus on the bot. That's where our goal is. And since we've got community managers and moderators and all that, so that's turned back to normal. But when you don't answer, for example, for a day, people can question like, hey, are you still here? And that could create some FUD. But right now, everything is perfectly in order, and we're responding in a fashionable time.
Right. It was like we got really big, really fast, and we did not expect that. So then it was like we were all focused on coding the bot, coding the blockchain, and then you've got to manage the community at the same time. So we had to hire community managers. It was just like wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And so far, what milestones? What are the milestones that have been most important that you guys have accomplished to date?
All of it. All of it. I mean, basically the bot, the blockchain, the masternodes, getting everything work, because was one of the things with the blockchain. Once we were coding it, the only real way to test it out is in production. So you're sitting there when you release it out of testnet into mainnet. You're going, oh, let it work. Things like that. And then we had some issues with a Sentinel file that we had to correct on the fly. But it's all corrected. The blockchain's working perfectly. It's smooth. All the reward payouts are
really fast.
It's extremely fast. I'm amazingly proud of our blockchain development group and our bot team. I mean, everything has been a major accomplishment, and I'm proud of every single one of the guys. I really am, and they amaze me every day. And we just keep pushing through, and we keep hitting our roadmap, and just try to get everything done. It's for all of our customers.
So you guys launched mainnet around December 20th, around that date?
Yeah, December 22nd. Yeah, 22nd. He went live. Mm-hmm. And then we just sat there going, come on. No bugs, please. We had one issue with the blockchain where we had a little issue with our masternode code, and then we had to dig through. I believe we stayed up with the whole team for 3 days straight, going through millions of lines of code to find a typo, right? And then once we figured it out, boom, fixed it, and everything was flawless after that.
What is the plan going forward for growing the beta software testers for the bot?
Oh, okay, we're going to do our next round. We just have to Because there is a lot of management with them. We have the private groups with our beta testers, and so they're testing it. And every time if they find a bug, they send it over to our support team, and then we got to filter out because sometimes it's user error, or they don't, But we filtered out. We fixed almost probably I would say 98% of the bugs. There's still like a couple of bugs that only some users get, but it doesn't show up. So you got to figure out whether it was their error, and if it was their error, what did they do to create it? So we handle that, and then we just want to make, like Roger was saying, we want to make our the graphs, like the profit graphs, a little bit more better with iCandy, and showing more statistics on it. And then once we do that, then we can roll in more beta testers.
If I can interject for a second, what's happening right now? We've got a lot of requests like, can we please enter the beta test program? But what we're doing right now is we want to give everybody the right support. We have to do the data analysis, and if we allow, for example, 200 new beta testers in right now, that would be not a good thing, we think, because then we would not be able to give the proper support to everybody, and as well we would not be able to do all the data analysis. I mean, we've got a team of 15 people right now, but we can only do so much in a 20-hour day, of which most of us work like 18 hours at least. So we're doing the next group. I don't know exactly how many new beta testers we're gonna allow, but for now there's 35 beta testers, and well, my estimation is we could double it in the next round, which most probably is still this month.
What are some of the upcoming milestones that you guys have?
The exchanges we're gonna go on. We're applying. We've already done deals with exchange, but we cannot announce them yet. We're not allowed to by law before everything is signed and done. But that's our next big thing, I think, the announcement of the exchanges we're going to be listed on. And another big milestone will be the Wolf box, having it ready, having it photographed, putting it on our website so people will actually be able to see the product as it will be. So yeah, that's for me. That's the two next big milestones.
Can you tell me some of the most in the user feedback that you've received so far? What have been the features that the community wants in the bot that is most important?
Actually, the most important thing everybody wants. I mean, the feedback we've been getting is they love the speed. They love the graphical interface. They think it's beautiful, and especially the speed and the fact that, because they all used other bots themselves, so they can actually compare the two. They actually love how sales get triggered and pretty much sell instantaneously. And the only thing that we've been working on is creating shorting strategies, and that's what they're waiting on more. They just want a little bit more. They want to be able to short the way they want to short a long position. So we've created specialized shorting strategies and shorting triggers for them. That's pretty much it. Just their exit strategy.
So you mentioned this earlier about not supporting margin trading. Can you go into a little more detail on the margin trading and how that affects shorting? Okay,
the way our shorting works on our bot, when you say shorting, people think margin. Okay, our bot's the tool to access the exchange and trade for you, right? So if we code, say, to BitMEX, you'll be able to place short orders and long orders there. That's the margin trading. We will give you access to that once we code it, but our bot itself won't do margin trading. Our shorting is basically you have a position, an open position, you're going long. But if that price drops rapidly, then you have an exit strategy. Your strategies are either hold it, let the bag, it comes a bag, let it recover. If it does, then you're good. How long are you willing to wait? A lot of people like to use a stop loss and just sell the position at a particular percent and just get done with it, exit out of it, and start trading again. Then we also have this, it's called a shorting, where you believe that position will keep going down. So then you want to sell it at a specific percentage and then reserve those funds and watch the coin drop even further and then buy it back again. Same exact position at a lower price. So therefore you gain back profits in base currency. That's the shorting that our bot does.
And why do you call that shorting? Because to me that would sound like just closing the position and then re-entering it at a lower price.
Sure. Yeah, it pretty much is, but you're really, it's because you're shorting it. I guess it's a play on the word because you want to short it. So we actually call it a short stop, right? Instead of like a stop loss, you could go a stop short. So you just feel that you believe that coin's going to go down. So you're going to let it go and buy it back, shorting it.
And so you have built-in presets for different market conditions. So you have presets for bull markets, sideways, and bear markets. And going back to the shorting, I mean, I can see why in this type of market that would be a feature that people would want. And so what are the challenges with supporting that shorting functionality? So because I don't think Binance supports shorting, right? Because they don't support margin. So you would need to have an exchange like Poloniex or...
No, we can short. Our shorting, right? Okay,
no, I mean shorting in the general sense of like short selling where you borrow on margin and profit from the price decline.
Yeah, now you have to use Poloniex, OKX, BitMEX. Yeah,
so are one of those exchanges, are those eventually exchanges that you plan on adding? And if so, once you add them, do you foresee being able to enter short positions where you can profit from decline?
Yes. Yeah, we just have to code it that way so that way you can place those short orders.
Yeah, and in this type of market, I could see why that would be a feature that users would want since it's been primarily a bear market over the past year. What other features have you heard from the community that are, Philip, you mentioned earlier this candle feature where you can scan when the candle closes, so the intra-candle price.
Right, we do the intra-candle price. Our bot actually does live price scanning. So it's constantly scanning the candle. That's why our sell orders get placed pretty much instantaneously. Most bots just get the information from the closing candle price. Like right before it closes is when they get their prices. We get it instantaneously. We get it like literally every like 100 nanoseconds. It's pretty much instant. It's live price scanning.
Wow. And so typically when you think of a candle, you think you can set the candles at different time intervals. So you can have like a 1 minute candle or a 5 minute candle or 15 minute candle. And so what you're saying is that in prior bots, the candle, the flag or the trigger would not be called until the candle closed. And that would depend. If it's a 15-minute candle, that would be a 15-minute interval. Or a 1 minute candle would be a 1 minute interval. And what you're saying now is that with this Wolfpack bot, it has this intra-candle scanning, so it's just scanning all prices at all times. And
that's correct.
And so the interval, when you're programming that, is it just a time-based interval rather than a candle-based, like a number of candles?
Right. It just, for our live price scanning, it's live. It's just constantly in contact with the exchange, and every time the price moves, our bot is updated. So it's like every like less than a second. It's a tick, 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 tick. We know the exact prices that are going on.
And so in your experience over the past year or 2 or 3 years, I mean, how have you seen the sophistication of the trading strategies develop overall in the cryptocurrency market? Because, we started earlier in this conversation talking about Forex and equity markets, which are obviously vastly more sophisticated in terms of trading strategies compared to cryptocurrency. Right. But, obviously that gap is closing. So the margins are getting thinner. The strategies are getting better, less volatility. Can you comment on the change that you've seen in the past few years, or I guess decades since Bitcoin started trading on Mt. Gox over almost a decade ago now?
Yeah, well, because the volatility gets smaller and smaller, that margin keeps closing. It gets harder for people to do midterm trades or swing trades, right? right? They got to wait longer. So to me, I've always been a scalper. So I don't care like what the volatility is, as long as I can get in there and scalp, just like almost like a Forex. And I think that's where a lot of the people like to do. They just want to see their returns. They don't want to hang on to bags. They just want to get in, get out. But one thing I've learned from trading groups and helping people to trade is, no matter what configuration you present to them, they will always go back to trading the way that fits their personality style, right? So if somebody starts with scalping and it's aggressive for them, they will end up going back to a swing trade or a midterm trade because that's their personality. If somebody starts swinging, and they're really aggressive, they will gravitate towards scalping. It's inevitable. You will end up trading that way it fits your personality. Because and also with trading, you have to keep emotion out of it, which is extremely hard. That's where bots come in. But people will go back to it and go, well, I want to get these kind of returns. I want to get these fast trades, or I want to do slow trading. It goes to their personality, and that's the way it works. So we've created, like we said, we've created pre-configured settings that people who don't understand technical analysis, they can just pick one of ours and have a plug-and-play experience. They just pick it, put in their API keys to their exchange, and let it trade for them. No emotion, no nothing, and just check it and get returns.
So the volatility now, we're in a consolidation phase in the market, I guess you could say. They're seeing sideways action. Maybe we'll have another leg down.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. In light of that, the trading strategies and the volatilities decrease, which means less profit generally if you're profiting from the volatility. Mm-hmm. So, do you think that the volatility will pick back up again? And what do you? I think I asked you a variant of this question earlier for how you think the market is going to change.
Yeah, back futures, once they come out, things will change. Also, what I'm seeing is a lot of analysis indicating towards a silver bubble, which means that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general are acting more like silver, and the silver bubble that we had back in the 70s and 80s, where right now it's going to drop down, another leg down. We could probably see Bitcoin at 2,400, and that'll be that bubble collapsing that was compared to silver. And if we hit 2,400, then all the institutionals are going to buy. All the institutional investors will be buying it at that price and raising it. They're waiting for it to go down a little bit more so they can buy in. Mm. That's what's happening. They're all interested. They've got their toes in the water. They're just waiting. And I think that once we get this next leg down, then they will jump in, and then back will come out, and then you're just going to go up and up and up and up. I mean, it's not going to be I doubt we will ever see a crazy bull year like we did in 2017, because that was literally like manipulation, was spoofing, it was crazy. Mm-hmm. But I do feel that we need to get regulations in this space. We have to.
Philip, you mentioned that the bot, in addition to supporting cryptocurrency connections to crypto exchanges, it also will be able to support connections to Forex exchanges, so that they can track and engage in Forex trading. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. It just comes down to a matter of creating the API wrappers to access their data. That's it.
And so that's on the roadmap and eventually going to be added to, or that won't initially be supported.
Right, exactly. Eventually we'll get to it after the crowd sale. We'll start working on it, but it's not going to be in our roadmap for now, because we want to test it out. Because we know it'll work, but it sounds so simple to just say, "Oh, we got to create API wrappers." That's all. Oh, that's probably 6 months worth of coding, But we can get it done.
So are you planning on having some type of integration where people can export their trade data to third-party applications like TradingView, or There's some other platforms like Hilo, Interaction or Social Integration?
Well, our bot will have TradingView integration. We had discussed originally to have like a social community on the bot itself to be able for users to communicate, but we kind of 86 that idea. We'll have forums where they communicate. We're going to have a marketplace. We have an import and export feature on our bot where users can already exchange strategies with each other. So we're going to have a marketplace on that as well, where if a user's got a strategy that really works for them, a blockchain backs it up, they can trade it with other users and just send it to them through the blockchain, and the other user can then just import it into their bot.
And do you guys have charting built into the bot, or is that so? Would that be a third-party application, like a separate?
Oh, like live charting, looking at TradingView, looking at the exchange to see the order books. Yeah, we're going to have that as third party. We have the software for it. We just haven't coded it. It's on our to-do list.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a lot of work ahead of you, which is a good thing. But
it's
busy.
Long term. We're just looking at everything long term. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and we're going to be. The bot will never like take a break. We're going to be constantly coding because it is the fastest bot out there, and we're going to keep it that way. So it's constantly updating. We're going to constantly updating it, rolling out new features. Like, one of the other things that people want to see is laddering, being able to
definitely
laddering options, and we've got that ready to code as well.
So laddering, is that like scaling out in and out of positions, or what do you mean by laddering?
Exactly. Now, Roger, this was one of Roger's key features that he wanted from way back in the beginning. Roger's a laddering freak. He loves it.
I like laddering in and out, and I requested that functionality. It was what I understood from software guys, a pretty difficult job to do, but they're working on it, and hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll see the first functionality of that in our beta version. And I think people will really love this.
When you say laddering, that means that, let's say you put in a buy order at X price for 100 tokens, and then you have a trigger for sell orders that are entered in, where like 10% is sold at a certain price if certain conditions are met, and so on and so forth at higher prices.
Yeah, correct. And the way we want it is people can say, for example, okay, I want 4 laddering positions for this amount of coins or tokens, and then do it even distribution over percentages. So, like, for example, you have 4 positions and the price is, let's call it 1,000. So you click like, okay, I want to start at 1,000 and then ladder down to 900. So every 25 drop, it will buy. But also being able to ladder out. So, for example, you set it on, for example, 3 positions, and then also you divide it from, let's say, 1,100 to 1,200. Well, then it would be 1,100, 1,133, 1,166, and of course the 1,200. So that's the way we want to implement it for users to be able to put it the amount of positions in there, and also the high and the low. So yeah. That's what we're implementing right now in coding.
When you're designing this, there is almost 2 ends of the spectrum where on one end you want to support as much flexibility as possible in terms of the supported strategies. And on the other hand, there's making it user-friendly and easy to program it. So how much coding experience is required for a user who wants to use the bot?
None.
Yeah, exactly. We're a very sophisticated automated automated trading platform, but also for the novice, it's possible to enter specific settings and basically just toggle the switch on and let it work for you. So on both ends of the spectrum, the more technically inclined, but also for the novice, it's a beautiful bot to work with.
They just go into our settings and configurations, which in the bot, and they can choose all of the parameters they want based on the technical analysis. It's all TA, so they can alter stochastics, StochRSI, RSI, MACD, EMA, SMA, WMA, everything that we've got, and they can choose all their parameters for oversold, overbought, necessary to buys, necessary to sells. They can choose all of their parameters they want for trailing stop loss, take profits, stop loss, all the shorting. They can choose what candles they want to trade on, their limit orders, their market orders. They can choose if you can snipe on the order book. You can choose a higher bid, a higher lower ask, or you can even snipe.
Yeah, and the coin selector.
Selector.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't write their own code. They just choose it. They just go to each setting and choose it through drop-down menus, and then they just save it. And if they want to share that configuration with somebody else, they just export it as a file, and then somebody else they send it to the other person to the blockchain, and then they import it themselves. Very, very simple. And if they just don't know anything about TA, they just choose our pre-configured settings. Bear, sideways, bull, and just check it and trade.
So my guest on the show today has been Philip Longhurst, CEO of Wolfpack, and Roger Pointel, CFO. It's a pleasure having the two of you on, and we'd love to have you on again in the future.
Looking forward.
Our pleasure.
All right, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too.
You too. Thanks, Angelo.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bounty Zero X podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast below. Check out bountyzerox.io, the #1 bounty hunting platform where you can complete work and earn cryptocurrency. Please consult your professional financial investment and tax advisors before making any investment in initial coin offerings. Bounty Zero X does not provide investment or financial advice and does not endorse or recommend investment in any ICOs advertised on the Bounty Zero X podcast or website.